Hello everyone and welcome to the vlog. Today I'm going to talk about my failures. And I listed them all out on my laptop. So we all know failure is a part of life, and I just want to be transparent about failures that I had because I don't want it to seem like my journey to becoming a CRNA was extremely easy and just everything went my way, because that's not how it goes for the majority of people. So we will start back even before I got into nursing school with one of my failures. So one of the first failures that I can think of on my journey to become a CRNA is not getting accepted into my number one nursing school that I wanted to go to. So when I started college, if you've seen my video journey to becoming a CRNA, when I started college, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to go into political science and do something with human rights or something like that. And then I decided to switch to nursing. And so my first year of college, I wouldn't say I didn't take it serious, but I definitely made B's, and I was fine with making B's. Like, as long as I made B's, I was like, okay, that's fine. And then when I switched my major and decided to become a nursing major, I saw that the GPA to get into the nursing school that I wanted to was like a 3.9. That was the average. So I really buckled down and studied all my sophomore year to make all A's, and that still wasn't good enough. I still didn't get into the nursing school that was my number one choice, which was very frustrating because I just was like, dang, like if I would have known that I wanted to go into nursing when I started college, I could have studied hard, really hard the whole time. So the lessons I learned from that is study hard all the time. Always try to do your best. Always try to make A's in everything, because you never know what you want to go into later in life. You might want to go back to grad school, and your undergrad grades matter. So always make sure to do your best and study hard in school so you can get into the school that you want to get into. But I did end up getting into a really good nursing school. I made some lifelong friends who I still talk to today. So that kind of worked out in the long run. But it did force me to have to complete school in 5 years instead of 4. So I did have to take out more student loans. So it all had a ripple effect, which kind of sucked. But that was one of my first major failures I can think of on my journey to becoming a CRNA. So another one of my failures is when I actually got into nursing school. So I always used to use just my cell phone to wake me up for my classes. I would just use my cell phone's alarm to wake me up. And I think it was like my second or third week of nursing school, my cell phone stopped working in the middle of the night. I don't know what happened, but it died. And I randomly woke up the day, I think I was supposed to be at class, probably around like 8 or 9. That's usually the times we had to be at class. And I woke up and it was like 9:30, 10. I like had to turn on my phone. I was like, what the heck happened? Turned to my phone, and I had a text message from one of my friends in class. She's like, oh my gosh, where are you? And I was just like, oh, I was mortified. I was like, no. I felt like such a failure. Now looking back, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was such a big deal to me because I was like, no, like it's only like the third or second week and I already missed class. Like, what the heck? And then I had to like sneak in during one of the breaks. I was like texting her. I was like, let me know when you want to break because I live 5 minutes away and I can like just sneak in. But that really sucked. It did not feel good. Oversleeping does not feel good when you are trying to make a good first impression or just a good impression overall. It doesn't feel good. So now I have a digital clock that I also use every morning. I set my phone alarm and I set my digital alarm clock also. And thankfully with those two things, I've never overslept when I set both of them. Like, one of them always works, you know? And I've definitely had mornings where the digital clock stopped working, but my cell phone still went off. Or sometimes my cell phone wasn't working and the digital clock went off. So it was just nice to have those two backups. So if you are someone who's worried about oversleeping or it's happened to you before, I definitely have 2 clocks. And at my most extreme, you guys, I had 3 clocks, which I don't recommend. That was a little too much. But I had my watch had an alarm, my phone had an alarm, and then I had the digital alarm clock. Yeah, that was extreme. I think that was during my first semester of having to go to clinicals in CRNA school, and I was like, I cannot oversleep. And I think too, I had to wake up at like 5 a.m., which is extremely early. My body does not naturally wake up at 5 a.m. ever. Even now, when I wake up usually around like between 5 and 5:30 for work, on my days off, my body does not wake up at 5 a.m. You don't need 3 clocks, but 2 clocks is, I feel like, not insane. So now we're fast forwarding to when I became a nurse. And as a new grad nurse, you are going to fail. That's just the truth of it. You're inexperienced. You don't know everything. Even if it's little failures, like calling the wrong doctor for something or giving a med late. You know, there's just so many things as an inexperienced nurse that you're just gonna have some failures. Hopefully nothing ever harms a patient, but you're definitely gonna have failures, mistakes you make, things you forget, and that just comes with the territory of being new. And hopefully you are on a unit where people are kind and show you grace. So one of my first fails in CRNA school was during, I think like the first or second week. Already I'm failing. But no, so for one of my classes, the professor always did like pop quizzes before. Well, I guess they're not technically pop quizzes because we knew about them. We knew that he was probably gonna give us a quiz, but he would always give like a quiz at the beginning of class that was gonna cover the material he was gonna talk about. So he would like send us the PowerPoint ahead of time. We'd read over the PowerPoint, take the quiz, and then he would talk about everything that was in the PowerPoint that he sent out. So the first quiz, you guys, I messed up. I don't know what was going on with me that day, but it was the first quiz of the whole program. And I just like was so anxious. I had imposter syndrome. I just was like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to be here. So anyway, during the first quiz, I just like panicked. I couldn't even think. I could not think straight because I think the first question I didn't know or I wasn't sure about. And I was like, my heart started racing. I just couldn't focus. So I had to like, I focused on that one question for a long time. And then the other questions I had to rush through just because I had spent too much time with the first question. And I think right after the quiz, like after we turned in our papers and everything like that, he went over the answers. And I was like mortified. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure I failed that quiz. And I did. But what made it worse is that a couple of days later, he shared the average for the quiz. And I think the average for the quiz, you guys, was like a 98, 97. So basically, majority of people made 100. And there was a couple of people who like missed one question. But majority of people made 100 if the average is like a 98 in the quiz. And I think my quiz grade was like a 70. And I just remember after class going home, going into my closet because my roommate was also in the CRNA program and I didn't want her to hear me. And like being on the phone with my mom and calling her up, and I was just like in my closet and I was just like, Mom, I'm so dumb. And just like, I was like, I'm not gonna be, if I can't even pass a quiz, how am I gonna make it through the whole program? It was horrible. I felt so dumb and ashamed and just like undeserving of being there. And my mom was, of course, very positive. She's like, no, like you deserve to be there. Like, it's fine. It's one quiz. And she's like, you can ask him, like, if you can get some tutoring help. I don't know. My mom was just trying to pull out anything to help me feel better. I wouldn't say I'm, like, a very overly dramatic person. I definitely can be dramatic sometimes, but, like, overall, in my everyday life, I'm not that dramatic. So after I, like, had a good cry about that quiz and felt sorry for myself, I was like, get it together. Get it together. Like I'm like, this is going to determine how well you do in anesthesia school. So I was like, just get it together. I had to give myself some tough love, pep talk, because I knew I was being dramatic. So luckily after that, the next quiz, I made sure I really studied hard, went into it very confident because I was like, okay, at least I have an idea of how his quizzes are. I went into it very confident and I think I made like 100 on it. And then like the rest of the quizzes pretty much in his class, like I did pretty well once I got my mind together. But that was just such a big, it felt like such a big fail to me at the time because I was like, okay, I'm proving my point that I may not be smart enough for this. I'm proving my point that maybe I slipped through the cracks and was able to get in for some reason, you know? But I just remember feeling just so dumb, especially after seeing the average. I think that was the main thing. If everybody else had done bad, I wouldn't have felt so bad. I was like, okay, well, it's not just me. But seeing the average was like a 98 and I had made like a 70, I was like, I'm dumb. And throughout CRNA school, at least for me, it was kind of just like a roller coaster of emotions, because for pretty much all the quizzes and tests, they show you the average. And sometimes I'd be above average, sometimes I'd be average, sometimes I'd be below average. And it was literally just a constant wave of emotions of being like, oh, I'm good, oh, I'm not good, oh, I'm good, oh, I'm not good. It was a lot. And I feel like, even though I didn't like talk to everybody about it, I'm pretty sure the majority of us felt that way too, where you're constantly comparing yourself to the average. Like, everybody wants to be above average. And so when you're not hitting that mark for every test and every quiz, it doesn't feel good. But then you also have to remind yourself, like, these are the same people in nursing school who are all above average. So then when we get into CRNA school, it all levels out, and it all levels out. So all the above average people are now competing against each other to see who's really above average. But you just gotta strap in and enjoy the ride at the end of the day. Enjoy the highs, be humbled by the lows, and just keep it moving. And then of course the failures continued in the clinical setting. There was questions I was asked I didn't know. Many times I missed intubations. Many times I missed art line insertions. Clinicals in general, I feel like, are very hard on a lot of people, because every day you're going in a clinical and being judged. Everything you do, how you speak, how you interact with people, the way you intubate. People can tell if you're nervous or not, and we'll pick up on that and be like, hey, you seem nervous. And it's like, I am nervous. So just, I know clinicals for me, and I pretty much knew, like, okay, the didactic portion when we're taking tests and everything like that was frustrating, but at least there was a lot of control in that setting. Like, usually the harder I studied, the better I did, usually. So there was a nice sense of control that if I really, really study hard, I can do pretty well. Whereas like in the clinical setting, like, yeah, there's studying you can do and you can look up the case and kind of like prepare yourself for it. But there's things that come up that you didn't expect to happen, or there's a preceptor who's extremely hard, or just known for being hard on students, known for not being nice. And there's nothing you can really do to prepare for that, because it's like, it's a personality thing. So I definitely had some preceptors who I did not mesh with, who did not like me, which was hard for me just because I consider myself like a pretty laid back, calm person. Like, I usually don't have any drama with people. Like, I get along with people really well. So to be in almost like a drama situation with a preceptor who you're just not meshing well with, and you're like, is it me? Am I the drama? No, but like, you're like, is it me? And usually it's not just me, because usually I hear like, oh no, they have problems with every student they work with. But you still can't help but take some stuff personal when someone's being mean to you and you're the person they're being mean to personally. So yeah, many days of failing in clinical, not feeling good enough, not feeling smart enough, not feeling skilled enough, especially the first couple of months. It just does not feel good for most people. I know I lived with 6 of my classmates because we were all at the same clinical site. So we rented out a house together and all lived together. And I know, like, for the majority of us, and maybe some people were lying, but like, we would all sit down and be like, I feel dumb, or like, dang, I'm feeling like anxious about going in tomorrow because I'm with this preceptor, or like, I have this case and I've never done it before and I'm feeling anxious. Like, my anxiety level going into clinicals was just something I never felt before. Even as a new nurse, I guess because everybody knows you're a new nurse. Like, you've never done this before. Whereas like, as a CRNA student, it's like, well, I'm used to being in healthcare. I'm used to working with critical patients. So when you come into the hospital as a CRNA student, there's kind of like an expectation, like you definitely should know a good amount of things. Maybe not everything, but you should definitely know some things clinically. And then when you feel like you're not as far ahead as you should be, it doesn't feel good. It's a lot on the psyche. It's a lot of psychological things that go on in clinical that you kind of have to overcome as a student. Like, yes, you're a nurse who has experience in the ICU, but you're not a CRNA and you've never been a CRNA before. So you're not going to know everything. But those are some of my failures that I've had on my journey to become a CRNA. And I've come to accept the fact that failures will continue. One of the CRNAs that I was working with as a student, they were my preceptor, and they were like, once you start getting comfortable as a CRNA and start feeling like good about yourself, something will happen that will humble you. So working as a healthcare provider, we will constantly always be humbled by something. We'll be flying high and then something will humble us. And then we'll fly high, something will humble us. And it's all a part of the journey. So I'm trying to embrace the fact that there have been failures and there will continue to be failures. And the most important thing is growing from those failures. And every failure shouldn't set you back as far as failures in the past have. Like there's definitely been times in the past where I've had a failure and I'm feeling bad about it for a couple months. Like I'm like, dang, like how did this happen? Or how did I let this happen? Or like, why didn't I catch that? Or something like that. And I'll dwell on it for months. And now I'm trying to get better at that. I'm trying not to dwell on something for as long as I used to in the past. But thank you for watching my video. I hope that any failure you have, you are able to bounce back from it quickly. And I hope that on your journey to becoming a CRNA, you meet people who are understanding, caring, and share their failures with you, because when people share their failures, I feel like it opens up room for discussion. So hopefully big failures can be prevented. I hope you all enjoy this video and I will see you in the next vlog.